9 violations, $9,000 in fines, and now the threat of prison. The man who called himself the champion of law and order is now one step away from ending up in a cell. Not in a movie, not in a novel, live, in front of the entire world. Donald Trump, former president of the United States, current White House candidate, is collapsing inside a Manhattan courtroom. And what is truly fascinating is that he is doing it himself. Nobody is pushing him. Nobody is forcing him. It is him, his posts, his attacks, his uncontrollable ego. Here is what the mainstream media does not dare to say out loud. Let us go back to the raw facts, not opinions, facts. Donald Trump is on trial for 34 counts of falsifying business records. 34. At the root of all this is a payment of $130,000 made to actress Stormy Daniels just weeks before the 2016 election. The goal was simple: buy her silence. Bury a damaging story before Americans went to vote. It was his former lawyer, Michael Cohen, who wrote the check. Trump reimbursed him afterward, but not honestly. The payments were disguised as legal fees inside the books of the Trump Organization. That is the crime. Not the affair, not the silence bought, the deliberate falsification of documents to influence a presidential election. And Trump denies everything. He calls it a witch hunt. He says Stormy Daniels is lying. But the documents are not lying. The checks exist. The invoices exist. The accounting entries exist. A self-proclaimed genius of business, the man who bragged about being the greatest dealmaker in the world, could not even cover his tracks properly. That is your stable genius. Now, let us talk about the gag order, because this is where everything becomes truly revealing. Judge Juan Merchan issued this order for one simple reason: to protect witnesses, jurors, and the integrity of the trial. This is basic law. This is what any defendant is asked to do. Stay quiet. Do not attack witnesses. Do not poison the jury pool. Rule number 1. Basic rule. Elementary rule. Trump violated it 9 times. 9 posts on Truth Social. 9 direct attacks against witnesses, prosecutors, and court staff. 9 times he looked justice in the face and said, "I do not care." And each time, the judge tightened the grip a little more. First came the warnings, then the fines. $1,000 per violation. $9,000 in total. For a man who claims to be worth billions, that is pocket change. He does not care. So Judge Merchan changed his approach. On the 10th violation, the 10th, he spoke these words in front of everyone. "The last thing I want to do is put you in jail. But if the violations continue, this court will have to consider a sentence of incarceration. Prison. For a former president in the middle of an election campaign. This is no longer an abstract threat. This is a line drawn in stone." And how did Trump react? Exactly as you would expect. He walked out of the courthouse and immediately went on the attack. On Truth Social, in front of cameras, at his rallies. He called Judge Merchan a crooked judge, a highly conflicted judge. He called the courtroom a kangaroo court. He screamed election interference, political persecution, the weaponization of justice. His lawyers asked for the judge to recuse himself, arguing that Merchan's daughter works as a political consultant for Democrats. The judge refused. And meanwhile, while Trump was screaming and posting and raging, his own lawyers were looking at each other with panicked eyes, frantically flipping through court documents, searching for a loophole that did not exist. That is the real image of this defense. Not strength, not confidence, panic dressed in a 3-piece suit. And at his rallies, Trump raises his fist. He shouts, "Fight! fight, fight. He tells the crowd that the Constitution is more important than jail, that it would be an honor to go to a cell for his convictions. A beautiful speech. But look at his lawyers standing behind him. Look at their faces. They know very well this is not an action movie. If you are tired of being served propaganda without analysis, subscribe right now. Share this video. Hit the bell, because the truth does not spread itself. Now, the critical analysis you will not hear anywhere else. Everyone talks about Trump as a victim or a martyr. His supporters scream political persecution. His opponents scream victory at every fine. Both sides are missing the point. This trial is not a political attack disguised as a legal procedure. It is an ordinary criminal trial with documents, witnesses, and physical evidence concerning a man who believed the rules did not apply to him. And what is truly shocking about all of this? It is not that Trump is being tried. It is that it took this long. Years of behavior above the law. Years of documented lies. Years of abuse of power. And now, finally, an ordinary judge in an ordinary Manhattan courtroom is simply telling him, in here, I am in charge, not you. And Trump does not know what to do with that, because his entire life, in business, in politics, in media, he bought, intimidated, or bypassed every obstacle. But you cannot intimidate a federal judge with a Truth Social post. And that is precisely what is driving him insane. Let us now talk about the scenario everyone imagines, but nobody dares to say out loud. Trump in prison during a presidential campaign. Is it possible? Yes. Legally, it is entirely possible. Judge Merchan does not need a new trial, no new jury. One single serious additional violation is enough. He signs the order, U.S. Marshals show up, and the former president of the United States finds himself in a cell. The consequences would be unimaginable. His campaign would implode logistically. His rallies would collapse. And the question that would dominate every debate, every newspaper, every conversation would be this one. Can you elect a president who is behind bars? His supporters would say it is the ultimate proof of persecution, that he is a political martyr, that the system is corrupt. And part of the country would believe them. But the other part, the independents, the moderates, those still undecided, would see something very different. They would see a man who, after decades of playing above the rules, finally encountered something he cannot buy, cannot intimidate, cannot bypass. The law. Not the law of the powerful, ordinary law. The same law that applies to every American citizen. This analysis you will not find on CNN, not on Fox, not on MSNBC. Subscribe now. Activate notifications. Share this video. Make the truth circulate. Every share is an act of resistance against misinformation. Forget Trump for a moment. Forget Stormy Daniels. Forget the $9,000. Forget the gag order. Ask yourself the real question. Does American justice apply equally to everyone? Because that is the real test of this trial. Not Trump's guilt or innocence. The ability of the system to treat a former president like any other citizen. And for now, despite all the pressure, all the threats, all the media noise, Judge Merchan is holding firm. He has not been intimidated. He has not backed down. He has not yielded to political pressure. He is doing his job. And that is precisely why Trump is furious. Because he has spent his entire life believing that power and money could buy everything. And now, in that Manhattan courtroom, he is discovering that is not always true. Not everywhere, not always. So here is where we stand. A former president, 10 violations of a court order, 34 criminal counts, a real and documented threat of prison, and one simple question floating above all of it. Do the rules apply to everyone, or only to those who cannot afford to scream loud enough? Trump can keep shouting. He can keep posting. He can keep presenting himself as a martyr in front of his crowds. But the judge has drawn a line. And the next time Trump crosses it, history will be written differently. If this video made you think, if it gave you information you did not have before, subscribe right now. Turn on notifications, because this story is not over, and we will be here when the next bombshell drops.